Ever wondered what happens when your past shows up at your doorstep? Literally. Tonight we're diving into the untold story of Ozzy Osbourne, a ghostly melody, and a song that waited decades to be heard. Hit play and witness the music that time almost forgot. The dressing room smelled of stale smoke, spilled beer, and the faint tang of sweat and perfume. Ozzy Osbourne leaned back in the cracked leather chair, letting the silence of the empty venue press against his eardrums. Hours ago, the crowd had roared, a tidal wave of sound and light that had made him feel eternal. Now there was only the echo of his own heartbeat, the faint buzz in his ears, and the cold gleam of fluorescent bulbs overhead. He rubbed at his temples, tried to shake the lingering ringing. The mirror in front of him reflected a stranger. Long hair matted, lines etched deep around his eyes, shoulders slouched. He stared into the reflection, and for a moment he didn't recognize the man staring back. "Still got it, yeah?" he muttered to himself, voice hoarse, almost a whisper. But the words sounded hollow, swallowed by the empty room. He blinked hard. There was a faint sound, just beyond the edge of hearing, like a whisper brushing the back of his mind. Maybe tinnitus, he thought. Maybe the night had left its ghosts. He shook his head. Nothing there. Just him. Outside, the rain streaked down the windows of the backstage corridor, a thin, silvery curtain of water separating him from the dark streets. He noticed movement. At first, he thought it was a reflection of himself, but then he saw the figure clearly. A teenage boy, pale, hunched against the storm, staring straight at the backstage door. Ozzy frowned. What the hell? Who waits out here at this hour, staring through rain and neon reflections? He pushed off the chair and grabbed his coat, the leather stiff against his arms. A cigarette. He needed one. Stepping out through the side exit into the damp night, he inhaled deeply, letting the smoke curl into the mist. The boy was closer now, walking toward him with tentative steps. Too casual to be threatening, but too deliberate to be random. Ozzy squinted through the rain. The kid was unsettling. Pale skin, wide eyes, and then the details. The same tilt of the head, the small scar above the left eyebrow that Ozzy remembered from his own childhood. The same accent rolling off his tongue when he spoke. You don't remember, do you? The boy's voice was soft, almost pleading, yet unnervingly certain. I'm you. Before you forgot what it felt like to be free, Ozzy coughed out a laugh, harsh and bitter, smoke curling around his face. Yeah, right, he muttered, taking another drag. Good one, mate. Come on now. You think you can pull one over on me at 2 a.m? He exhaled, letting the smoke blur the boy's features, but even through the haze, the familiarity was uncanny. Something in that look, in those eyes. It gnawed at the edges of his mind. The boy didn't flinch. Didn't even smile. Just tilted his head and stepped closer. Rain dripped off his dark hair, streaking lines down his pale cheeks. You've forgotten, he said quietly, almost sorrowfully. But I haven't. I remember everything. Ozzy shook his head, fingers tightening around the cigarette. Listen, mate. I've seen all sorts of nuts out here. You want money? Drugs? You want me to sign something? I'm not... His words trailed off as a shiver ran down his spine. There was a certainty in the boy's eyes that made him pause. A memory, or the echo of one, stirred unbidden. The attic room of his childhood home. The wind rattling the window pane, the lullaby his mother used to hum while the city slept. Sit with me, the boy said, gesturing toward a flickering streetlight across the puddled alley. Hesitation battled curiosity inside Ozzy, but something compelled him forward. They took a bench soaked from rain, shivering under the dim yellow glow. The boy's eyes never left him. You remember this? The boy asked, voice low, almost a murmur. Your mother's lullaby? The first time you stole a guitar. That night you broke the window at Mrs. Clark's house. Ozzy's breath caught. He laughed nervously, a dry rattling sound. Who told you that? I know, the boy said simply. I lived it. I am you. Ozzy's mind whirled. This was impossible. He had met fans who knew songs he'd never performed live. People who memorized every lyric, every riff. But this was different. Too precise, too intimate. He could see the teen's reflection of himself in the puddles at their feet. Pale skin, unruly hair, that same desperate hunger in the eyes. The boy leaned closer. You promised, remember? Music will save you. It's all you have if you don't forget. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small, crumpled notebook. Ozzy caught the glint of the cover in the dim light. Familiar, worn edges, handwritten scribbles. You wrote it at 15. You never finished it. I can hum the melody if you want. A shiver ran through Ozzy's spine. He shook his head, but curiosity burned hotter than caution. Go on, he whispered. The boy closed his eyes, lips moving, a soft hum that threaded through the rain and mist. The sound was raw, unpolished, a melody that shouldn't have survived the years. Ozzy felt it tug at him, dragging him back to the narrow streets of Birmingham, to smoke-filled rooms and friends lost to time, to the nights when music was everything and the world was still a wide-open stage. Images flashed behind his eyes. The alley where he first dared to play in front of strangers. The pub where dreams were whispered between clinks of glasses. The face of Tommy, long gone, smiling as if waiting for him to finish what they had started. Each memory was a punch to the gut. You forgot to finish it, the boy said, opening his eyes, gaze fixed. You promised to sing it again. Ozzy's chest tightened. He tried to speak, tried to dismiss it as hallucination, fan obsession, exhaustion. But the hum continued, filling the night, seeping into his bones. It was his song. Their song. The one they'd left behind years ago, unfinished and raw. He could hear it perfectly, tangled with the rain, with the hum of the streetlight, with the distant echo of the city. The boy rose slowly, stepping back into the fog rolling down the alley. I can't finish it for you, he said. You have to remember. You have to do it. Ozzy remained frozen, drenched, shivering, hands gripping the bench as if it could hold him upright. The figure of the boy, his younger self, impossible yet undeniable, faded into the mist, leaving only the echo of that half-remembered melody behind. The street lamp flickered, casting long, twisted shadows across the wet cobblestones. Ozzy's ears rang again, louder now, blending with the soft, haunting notes that lingered in the rain-soaked night. His fingers ached to grab a pen, a guitar, anything. To write, to play, to finish what had been started decades ago. He sat there long after the boy disappeared, soaked, trembling, staring into the fog, the melody looping endlessly in his head. Every instinct screamed, every memory begged him to chase, to write, to perform. But for now, he simply sat, caught between disbelief and recognition, between past and present, between the man he had become and the boy he once was. Somewhere, far off, a door slammed, a cat screeched. Rain drummed harder against the metal roofs. But in the alley, there was nothing. Only the echo of an unfinished song. A boy who may never have existed, and a promise that Ozzy could feel pressing against his chest. You have to finish it. The night stretched on, thick and silent, leaving him with only one certainty. The song was still alive, waiting, haunting, daring him to remember. And somewhere in the shadows, the past was watching. The morning air smelled of rain and pavement, heavy and cold as Ozzy Osbourne stirred awake. Light seeped through the thin curtains, pale and reluctant, brushing against the mess of guitar cases and scattered papers across his bedroom floor. His head throbbed faintly from the night's tension, yet there was something else, a subtle pull, like a tug on his chest. He opened his eyes, and his gaze immediately fell on a small object sitting atop the cluttered desk. It was a tape, old, worn, with handwritten letters scrawled across the label. The Song That Never Was, 1965. His fingers trembled as he picked it up, dust clinging to the edges. He had no memory of leaving it there. A vague echo of a melody stirred somewhere deep in his chest, buried under decades of smoke, travel, chaos, and screaming crowds. He slid the tape into the old cassette player, and the faint whirring filled the room with a sense of reverent anticipation. The first notes floated out, fragile, raw, and achingly familiar. And then the voice, his voice, younger, unpolished, innocent. It trembled through the speaker with a purity he had long forgotten. Each word, each phrasing, struck with uncanny precision, matching every fragment the boy had whispered the night before. Ozzy leaned closer, breath caught, listening to the decades of regret dissolve into a song he had never finished, a memory that had somehow survived the chaos. He closed his eyes and let the sound wash over him. He could feel the teenage version of himself in the chords, in the phrasing, the unfinished lyrics echoing like ghostly fingerprints across the room. It was not just a song, it was a calling. And the boy outside the pub had been real somehow, a manifestation of everything he had left behind. Without hesitation, Ozzy grabbed his coat. The streets of Birmingham were quiet, soaked from last night's rain, reflecting neon streaks across puddles. He walked aimlessly at first, driven by instinct more than reason, retracing memories he hadn't thought about in decades. Narrow alleys, old brick walls, the smell of fried food from corner shops. It was all there, unchanged, frozen in time. He asked locals casually if they'd seen a boy, pale, thin, with eyes like his own. But their answers were always the same. No one like that had been there. He found himself standing before his childhood home. The front door was boarded, the bricks worn and blackened from years of neglect. Graffiti sprawled across the wall near the gate, stark against the peeling paint. "You promised you'd never sell your soul." Ozzy's heart tightened. The handwriting looked familiar, like someone had copied his own teenage scrawl. He reached out, fingertips brushing the cold. Rough wood, and for a moment he could see himself as a boy, scribbling lyrics in the margins of notebooks, dreaming of a life that had not yet been shaped by fame, by heartbreak, by chaos. He had to go further. His legs carried him to the small, run-down pub where he had played his first gigs. Its faded sign creaked in the wind, windows clouded with grime and dust. Inside, the air was thick with memory. Cigarette smoke, spilled beer, the faint resonance of laughter and music trapped like dust particles in the light. At the far end, a jukebox glimmered faintly. Then, impossibly, it clicked on. The melody from the tape began to play. Ghostly, yet tangible, weaving into the empty pub like smoke curling along the floorboards. And there he was. The boy, sitting in the chair Ozzy had claimed as his own so many years ago. Eyes wide, pale, but alive with that impossible certainty. He looked at Ozzy as if he had been waiting for him his whole life. "You remember now?" the boy said softly, almost whispering. "You can still do it. You can finish it." Ozzy swallowed hard. He felt raw, stripped of every pretense. Fame, money, years of touring, screaming fans, they all faded away, leaving only the man who once dreamed in the back of this very pub. How is this even possible?" he murmured. The boy shrugged, a faint smile brushing his lips. "Does it matter? I'm just a reminder, a guide. You promised yourself, your music, and your soul that you wouldn't let fear or greed destroy the truth of it. You can still write it again." He handed Ozzy a torn page. Yellowed at the edges, the ink smudged but readable. Ozzy's eyes widened. It was the lyrics he had sketched out as a boy, the lines unfinished, raw with teenage urgency. For a heartbeat, he could almost hear the laughter of his friends, the clinking of glasses, the pulse of the audience he had yet to know. He didn't speak. He just nodded and took the paper, crumpling it slightly in his fist. The boy stood, fading slowly into the haze of the pub, leaving only the echo of his voice. "Finish it. Sing it. Remember who you were." By nightfall, Ozzy was back on stage. Not the massive stadiums, not the throngs of screaming fans, but a small, intimate venue, just him, a mic, a single spotlight. The room was silent. Even the air seemed to hold its breath. He unfolded the torn lyrics and set them on the stand. He gripped the mic with hands that shook, but not from fear, from anticipation, from the weight of decades pressing down. The first notes trembled out of him, a raw, unpolished melody. It was the song that had waited 50 years to be born. His voice, hoarse but passionate, carried every memory, every lost opportunity, every whisper of the boy who had reminded him of what truly mattered. And then, something extraordinary happened. The crowd, once imagined as empty, began to shimmer. Faces appeared in the dark, not physical, not entirely real, but there, ghostly silhouettes of bandmates, friends long gone, mentors, and even strangers who had once believed in the music. They swayed to the rhythm, clapping, nodding, smiling. For the first time in decades, Ozzy felt connected to the world that had shaped him, and the world he had left behind. He sang with everything he had, the unfinished lines, the raw chords, the fragile vulnerability of a young boy's dream finally reaching adulthood. The air seemed to hum with the song itself, vibrating through the floorboards, through the ceiling, through the hearts of those spectral listeners. For a moment, the years melted away, leaving only the man, the music, and the promise fulfilled. As he reached the final chorus, the silhouettes became brighter, clearer. He could see them, his younger self among them, nodding, eyes shining with pride. He could see the boy from the alley, finally whole, finally at peace. He sang the last note, trembling, holding it just long enough for the echoes to carry it through the empty corners of the venue. Silence fell, but it was not empty. It was full of understanding, of completion. The lights dimmed, leaving only Ozzy standing in the spotlight, breath ragged, chest heaving. He glanced down at the mic stand, at the lyrics, at the faded notes of the song finally sung aloud. Somewhere, faintly, applause rose, not from living fans, not from any earthly stage, but from the echoes of a life lived fully, of promises kept, of music finally speaking truth. Backstage, Ozzy leaned against the wall, chest heaving, sweat dripping from his hair. The venue was empty again, the specters gone, but he felt no loneliness, no emptiness. Instead, a calm warmth filled him, like the soft glow of a sunrise after a night of storms. He walked toward the mirror, wiped the condensation away with a trembling hand, and saw something written faintly in the fog. "You remembered." He smiled, faint, peaceful, almost tearful. "Yeah," he whispered, voice low, raw with emotion. "I did." From somewhere faintly, a tape player clicked on. The original demo, still soft and unpolished, filling the air with the voice of the boy he once was, singing the song that had waited so long to be heard. And for the first time in decades, Ozzy felt the full weight of his life, his music, and the promise kept. A harmony between past and present, youth and age, memory and reality. He sat down in the empty room listening, letting the sound wrap around him like a protective shroud, a reminder that the music, like memory, never truly dies. It waits, patient, quiet, ready to speak when the time is right. Tonight it had spoken, and Ozzy Osbourne, in that quiet, intimate moment, had finally answered. The notes faded into silence, leaving only the soft echo of a melody remembered and completed, a life reconciled, and a song that would live forever in the quiet corners of both memory and soul.